Hello, everyone. Eugene here.
Gene.
Everyone in person at Town Hall, your speaker is on mute.
I know.
Okay.
We know.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No.
How's everyone doing today?
All right. Everybody please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The agenda number 2, public participation. Anyone wish to speak to the commission? Anyone wish to speak to the commission? Anybody wish to speak to the commission? Hearing none, we'll move on from public participation to approval of minutes for the special meeting of November 21st, 2024. We need a motion to approve the minutes of November 21st, 2024, which was a special meeting. Do we have a motion? Thank you.
I second.
And a second by Larry. Thank you very much. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed?
Nope,
Or-
I was agreeing to it. I wasn't opposing.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It's unanimous, then, thank you. Communications, Bill, budget worksheet.
Running pretty smooth, just gonna, watch the equipment maintenance down a little bit, and then, DEP nutrient testing is down, everything else is pretty much on line. If anybody has any other questions?
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead, John.
In last month's minutes, there was a statement by the mayor that there was a new hire, manager.
I can't hear you, what are you saying, Bob?
Did we hire anybody? I'm sorry, John, will tell you. Did we hire anybody at the plant?
He's supposed to be, I guess he's waiting for the DEP to sign off or whatever. That's all.
Okay, so who would determine that? HR?
HR and the mayor are handling that, yeah.
Could you just confer with the HR and see if we can't get a firm date for that?
Absolutely.
Approve date for the hiring.
Or start date, yeah.
Okay. Start date. Yeah, I asked them myself, they didn't find out.
The other thing I would like to ask is, I read last month's minutes, and I've read what's on the table this evening. And a couple questions I have are this: who is the OSA for the town?
Down there,
No, for the town.
Good call, I don't know.
I have no idea. I think it's that, Plus O'Neill has a guy, level 4 that comes down and checks on that stuff. Garrett was supposed to be doing all the other stuff. Don't know how that's running yet.
So the OSI is the individual that inspects grease traps and maintenance.
Well, that's you.
Oh, that's
That's-
me.
Okay.
Assistant sewer.
Yeah, what do you
administrator.
need?
I want to know who that is.
That's
That's
me.
Peter.
Sewer.
Okay, so you go out, you inspect all of the grease traps that are, these were discussed in last month's minutes, so that's why I'm bringing. this
Okay,
up
yeah.
and discuss
Yeah, we
that.
inspect the internal ones, the ones inside, the outside ones, we get reports. And we
Yeah.
review the reports and then issue a inspection, or my own inspection report.
So you have a inventory of all of the grease traps in town?
Yes, outside and inside, yes, about 150.
Sure.
It changes every day, 'cause
Sure.
going in and out of businesses, and people going in business, out of business, so about 150, 152 right now.
Okay. And the other question I have is how often is our consulting engineers invited to be here at these meetings?
One's in there now.
From Plus and O'Neill?
Good.
Doug,
Doug,
Yes.
yeah.
So are you at every meeting? Doug?
Is that question for me? I'm not at every meeting. I'm kind of here more on an as requested basis. When there's applications that need to be discussed, but if there's no matters, then I normally will not attend.
Okay. And the town attorney, and I apologize for this, but I am the newest member to the
No
board
problem.
here, so
That's fine.
I'm still in the middle of a learning curve. So when does the town attorney get invited from?
He's invited whenever he wants. He came last week out of the blue, so
We,
no clue.
Okay. So this board doesn't request any legal advice during the course of permit presentations or requests for approval? No.
Only on request, I would assume. I don't know. I've never seen him here except for the
We-
time that he was here last week.
right, we've requested meetings with him. Or the city attorney, his assistants or whatever, but we just don't get them. I don't know, especially now, we have things coming up now that we definitely need some legal advice, so. That's gonna change, but up to this point, it has not changed since I've been on. At all.
Well, I have some recommendations I want to make
Good,
a little later.
good, Jim. Okay, moving on to 5, unfinished business. There is none. New business. The WPCA schedule, which is, the thing that we've changed is, going from a Wednesday to a Tuesday evening at 4:30. There was some other discussions about going back to 7 o'clock or 7:30, but the makeup of the board, you know, we have to try and get everybody here, and I think it's their choice is what we try to do. We try to I try to let the commissioners pick, and they come up with the Tuesday meetings at 4:30 rather than Wednesday. So that's the reason it was changed. If there's any question or discussion on it, we can certainly address it, but that's, I don't think there's anything else to discuss about it. So we need a motion to approve our meeting schedule for 2025.
So it's just being changed Tuesday out of convenience.
Yes, yes,
Gonna stay at 4:30 then,
4:30.
on Tuesdays.
But you don't sell shoes anymore, so you don't have to worry. You don't sell shoes anymore. You can be here. No tight schedules, okay. Can we get a motion to that effect? By, Mr. Cilio, moved. Second,
Seconded.
I say,
second by Mr. Pace. Any discussion? We just had discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote and so ordered. Thank you, gentlemen. That's very simple. What the hell did I do with it? Also in the new business, 6B, the BCC -24-9 Great River Water Club, 722 River Road. I think we have Doug. Is Doug going to speak, or would you like to speak, sir?
It's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
How do you want to do that? Who do you want first?
Doesn't matter. Doug, you want to go first or?
Yeah,
what
Doug,
do you wanna
you
do?
do it.
However you'd like to do it.
Okay. We'll just let him do it, don't have you speak. Go ahead, Doug.
All right, so I just wanted to provide a summary on this application. So we have reviewed this application. This is for Great River, along Great River Road. It's a development that consists of a condo. There's also a restaurant, some office space, some rowing club. We're looking at a contribution of approximately 43,000 gallons per day on an average daily flow basis being contributed to the collection system. We have gone through a couple iterations of going back and forth with the applicant's engineer, seeking some clarifications, as well as discussing, some of the items that we brought into question with the application. We have most recently, the applicant's engineer provided a response to comments to us last week, and we most recently responded to that today and posted it to OpenGov. Based on our review, there were kind of three things that we were looking to, be addressed. One of them is that the proposed application, the proposed development has a restaurant. The restaurant has not been identified at this time. There was a quantity for number of seats, but the exact owner and who's going to occupy that space, that is the restaurant, has not been determined. So we requested that, once that has been determined, grease trap calculations be submitted to the Shelton Wpca just to make sure that the restaurant that is occupying the space has the appropriate size grease trap pursuant to the Shelton sewer ordinance. The second item is that the flow from this proposed development is proposed not to go to Shelton, but rather the neighboring town of Stratford. So one of the conditions that we had is that they just provide, a letter from Stratford acknowledging that they would be accepting the flow from this proposed development. And then the last item that we had recommended is that the proposed development is designed to have its own pump station. The pump station traverses the property and then extends approximately another 1,000 feet in Great River Road before discharging to an existing sanitary sewer manhole. We have recommended that the existing gravity main within the right-of-way or within the Great River Road be extended to the southern property line of the proposed development, and basically a discharge to that proposed manhole. So extending gravity sewer all the way to the southern limit of the proposed development. We've gone back and forth or not back and forth, but the latest letter or response to comments from the applicant's engineer was that likely wasn't achievable with considering the existing grade and needing to maintain minimal cover over the sewer main. We've looked at that internally, and if you're able to, based on design guidelines, if you're able to extend that 12-inch existing main at minimum slope, but minimum recommended slope, you should be able to maintain the 4 feet of cover over the pipe. There is a potential conflict with a storm drainage pipe that crosses River Road. So we're proposing that the gravity sewer be extended just short of where that potential conflict is. And within the most recent application, we provided a marked up copy of the site plan, kind of proposed with the proposed layout, showing the elevations as well relative to extending the sewer on River Road.
That's it?
Those were the three things that are really emphasized in the application. There's other items just to keep the restaurant plumbing separate and make sure it's screened for grease. But those are normal requirements that we have when dealing with an application that constitutes a restaurant as part of it. And the applicant did acknowledge both of those requirements when we commented on
Are you done then?
that's my summary. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Richard Crowell. I'm the owner of the property at 722 River Road and the applicant here before you this evening. Would like to address, I want to address a couple of the first two items, and then with me this evening is Dave Ginther, primary engineer and partner in Rennis and Mead, the engineering firm that's done all the engineering for this site over the years. The grease trap, as we said, is pretty straightforward. We did, however, size a grease trap and put it into the plans based on the parking requirement and square footage of the current restaurant if it were totally built out as per what zoning regulations would allow. So we put the maximum size grease trap into a plan and have included that for submission with you folks here so that the maximum size restaurant that could be facilitated in the space would be handled by the grease trap that is being proposed. If down the road something changes, once we have a tenant or an occupant for the restaurant, then we will come back to the commission or the building department for a modification in the system. But we understand what needs to be done and understand the placement and what needs to be calculated for it. So we agree with everything there for your consultant. As far as the town of Stratford goes, the project was approved in its original form in 2018 by the town of Stratford. I have a letter here from Attorney Barry Knott acknowledging that. If any of you'd like a copy, I have 5 copies here I can submit to you as well, so that you'd have it for the record. This was submitted back in 2023 to the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Well, when the original project that had been approved for River Road, if you will, in the old Murphy's Boatyard site, we had in 2018 acquired the auto swage parcel to the south. That was a brownfield site. Spent a few years getting through the process of the cleanup and trying to get it there. I think some of you have probably driven by now and seen it, that we've got it to a point where the building's ready to be raised and we've got all the environmental concerns under control. So we're very happy with the progress there, but in adding that into the new development, we did go back to Stratford in 2023. We presented them with the plans that were before the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission at the time. They accepted the plans, they accepted the modification. The auto swage facility had always been existing. It was a 35,000 square foot manufacturing plant. There was a flow calculation in the early 1980 plan because it was an existing facility that they had that site in their flow calculations anyway, as far as Stratford was concerned. So they thought the improvement actually would reduce some of the flow calculations that they had for that site. This is what we had gone through in the application with them. At that meeting, Stratford tabled the item pending approval from this commission. So all we're waiting for now is Shelton's WPCA, you folks, to approve this application. And then we go back to Stratford for final approval and confirmation and calculations with the town attorney there, which will be handled by Barry Knott and Mr. Izzo down there. So we have everything in place back and forth. There was a little bit of the chicken and the egg. How do we get the approvals here? They wouldn't approve us here until we had SOAR approval there. They wouldn't give us SOAR approval down there until they knew what the project was up here. But over the last few years, we've been able to kind of go back and forth and sift through it. And we're at a point now where Stratford is just pending your approval, and we're here hopefully this evening to get final approval from you folks to move forward with the project. It's been now since 2018 that we've been working on this, and hopefully we're coming down the final legs as far as the approval process goes. If there's any questions, there's more documentation, and obviously Mr. Pia in Stratford is well aware of the project as well. We've kept him informed all along the way. With that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Gaitler to address the question about the forced gravity main in River Road from the southern corner of the property, unless there's any other questions on those items. Thank you.
Come here, if you don't mind, coming closer to you folks here. So we have seen the comments that were provided by Fuss and O'Neill this morning. Dave Ginter, Redness and Mead, for the record here. We have reviewed the comments that were issued this morning. I think the only thing that is outstanding that we need to discuss today regarding the design, as Doug had indicated, is the extension of the gravity sewer main to try to minimize how much force main is proposed within River Road. We have taken a look at their comments. We've done our own calculations to verify, and we do agree that we can extend the gravity line north. I don't necessarily agree with extending it as far north as Fuss and O'Neill has indicated. They have indicated that we upsize the gravity main to a 12-inch from an 8-inch that we had proposed previously, which does allow a lower slope, which allows us to extend this further, because unfortunately, where the existing tie-in point is in River Road is the high point of River Road. As you come north towards our site, grade is dropping, right? You have a pipe that increases, grade that decreases. With a lower slope, we're able to extend that gravity line further north, obviously. The manuals that were referenced, the TR16 manual with the minimum slope for a 12-inch pipe at 0.22% allows a velocity of 2 feet per second. I have a slight concern with 2 feet per second with low flow fixtures being utilized across the board now. I have a concern that long-term there's going to be a maintenance issue with the amount of flow we have coming out. The pumps have been designed for 150 gallons per minute, give or take 5 gallons per minute. With the low flow fixtures, there's more of a chance of less liquid with the same amount of solids coming out of that pump system. The pump has been designed at 150 gallons per minute to keep it at 3 feet per second to be self-cleaning through the force main. And I would recommend that we increase the slope of the pipe, which would decrease the length coming up River Road, so that we can maintain 3 feet per second, so to minimize any sort of settlement issues long-term and maintenance issues for this development. What that does for us, though, is what was commented on, because of a storm line crossing about 100 feet away from our property line, it was recommended that we stop the manhole and put the last gravity manhole about 115 feet or so south of our property, where that gives us 3 feet of cover over the top of the pipe at that minimum pipe slope to allow 2 feet per second of velocity. I'm recommending that we pick it up to 1/3%, 0.33% pitch. Still gives us 3 feet of cover, but we stop that manhole. The last gravity manhole is about 80 feet or so south of where was recommended by Fuss O'Neill. So we're stopping here at station 800 as opposed to at station 880. Gives me a little bit more comfort long-term that there's not going to be any maintenance issues with solids settling out of this. So that would be our recommendation and our proposal. Unfortunately, given the hour that we got the comments this morning, and no fault of Fuss O'Neill's, we've been working through trying to review these calculations and comments. So, we're here tonight to present that to you as an alternative, trying to get closer to minimize the force main, but at the same time protecting this main gravity main going forward.
Okay.
So Doug, what do you have to say about that?
Your mic,
You're
Doug,
muted.
you're muted.
Sorry about that. I understand kind of what is being said here. TR16 is kind of what we use for designing all sewers that we've worked in with, multiple municipalities. And he's right in that the minimum slope is designed for the 2 feet per second, but that is in line with what TR16 is recommending. I understand the idea of deposition of solids, within the pipe itself, and that's really one of the main reasons why we're recommending that gravity sewer be extended to the southern property line, because gravity sewer presents an opportunity for that to easily be flushed out if there is a deposition of solids. Where if you have a deposition of solids in a force main, that creates a much larger issue in terms of needing to excavate the pipe and possibly clear the blockage using a lot of manpower and it having a cost associated with it as well. It sounds as though, and I haven't, I can't comment, I haven't looked at the revised comps relative to it, but from what I understand, it almost seems as though we're talking about an 80-foot difference in terms, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds as though we're talking about an 80-foot difference in terms of how much gravity sewer versus force main is going to be extended here. I think we were looking somewhere around approximately station 880, 8+80. To where the gravity would be extended to, whereas I think I heard him reference station 800 is where it would terminate.
That's correct.
And so the main recommendation that we were having relative to this was getting, as much of the force main, if you could, out of the where the town really own it under the town's right of way, if you will, once it enters the road. So that's kind of, was our stance on why that extending gravity sewer was recommended all the way to that limit.
Any other questions?
I have one more, I have
Go
one
ahead,
more
Jim.
question. First of all, what is our agreement with Stratford in terms of is there a ceiling on on the capacity that we have available to us in Stratford?
You want to address that, Bill?
So the last time I checked, it was supposedly in 300,000.
And where are we?
Don't, I have no idea what we're at. I don't have that information. I can't tell you that.
Around 180,000
What is it?
is where you're at, about 180.
I don't know that. Nobody's given me that information.
This project,
With this project?
correct?
With it?
Yes.
And is there still a pump station?
Yes, there will be a pump station due to the elevation changes that we have out here with our development site being at river elevation and having to get up to elevation 60, give or take, where the gravity is. Yes, we will have a pump station on site to take all the effluent and pump it up to the end of the gravity
Do we
line.
have that map? Do we have that plan, that site plan?
Oh, yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
pump station?
Yeah, that's in there.
Okay.
We have that, but we can
And
give.
so the
John.
maintenance of the pump
What's that?
station and force
The site
main
plan?
would be the owners
That's
Yeah,
correct, sir.
we have one.
entirely?
Yes.
Where'd you get the 180,000?
Yeah, that's what it's about that.
That came out at the WPCA meeting in Stratford when we met. Mr. Pia is the chairman down there, and they had reviewed the 1982-ish free agreement that had been set up between Stratford and Shelton at the time. The town attorney and our attorney had gone back and forth in offline, if you will, discussions about it to ensure that we were well within the capacity range at the time of the application and the approval, which we had to prove, and we did. So we had done that research. Now, it may be a couple of years old, 2023 or a little earlier. Those numbers may have changed since then, but at that time, those were the numbers.
That was the number in 83 or when you went in 18?
2023,
Okay.
thereabouts. May have been a little earlier when they discussed it prior to the meeting. But between 2018 and 2023, we had gone through the different reiterations of what the agreement was and where the capacities were. And we had to review the original plan that Stratford and Shelton had of where the developments, they had a potential development plan in order to calculate, obviously, the potential effluent that would be coming from Shelton to Stratford. And obviously, places like Auto Swage and the other business that were there were already calculated in at the flows that they had anticipated.
So you're talking additional flow or total flow from Shelton to Stratford? Total flow?
Total flow was around
all
300,
that catchment area?
correct.
To answer your question for the site plan, just to orient you, and I'll bring this closer to you here. So what we have on the bottom here. So this is the proposed development. This is the Auto Swage property. This is the existing marina property from here going up that way. We have the match line here, It's the same point, right? This is our tie-in point. So we have the gravity extension in River Road. Where it will up in this general direction here is where we'll convert it from gravity to the force main due to, as we talked already about, elevations and conflicts. The force main then comes on into the site. So match line here into the site, force main comes on down, and the pump station is going to be located, approximately in the middle of our development, where all of these buildings will be gravity fed down to the pump station. And then we'll have the pumps lifted on up to the end of the gravity line.
Okay, so first of all, a pipe is in the right of way of the town, right?
It's a state right of way.
It's the state right of way. And so who maintains that?
That would be, this is not, I don't believe that this is being offered, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, any conversations you've had with anybody over the years.
No, but I mean, general, who
I don't believe that
maintains?
this is a public main extension. I believe this is a private main extension. So in my opinion, it would be, Rick, the property owner's, responsibility to maintain this line
The gravity piece also?
up until where it's, publicly accepted as a public main.
Well, I mean,
So,
it's in
so
the-
I would say that yes, up until our connection point at the end of the existing line. If at some point in the future, another property looks to tie into this.
Yep.
And the city of Shelton has said that we will accept a portion or all of the work that happens within River Road as being, you know, publicly owned and maintained. At that point, then it'll become, I would assume the city is
Well,
Shelton,
I'm
but I don't
sure
know how
that-
that works
yeah,
with
look,
Stratford, but
Look, easy, take it easy. That's the state right of way.
they would not be the ones maintaining it.
Can I ask a
I'm sorry.
question? That's the state right of way in which you're installing a main extension.
Correct.
Okay. So is it Shelton, is it the Shelton WPCA's responsibility to maintain that? Is my question.
As far as we are to understand at this point, since we're the sole user of that line, we have to maintain it to the public manhole, if you will, the public distribution box.
Okay, let me
which is
put it,
down at the condo.
all right.
So we are privately maintaining it. We are getting the approvals from the state, from Condot, in order to go down that easement. So it will be a private main until at some point in time, which will never happen because the only other property that's there is the old Win Air
You
property.
maintain
And I
what's
believe that's
forced,
doing
and
something
then
else.
I'm
So
hearing this.
we would be maintaining the main from the connection in the street where it's now public to our site and then everything on our site.
Okay. Tell me about the separation of the grease trap. Which building has the restaurant in it?
Yeah, this building over here on the auto switch property. So on the southernmost end of our
Proposed building.
development,
Proposed building or existing?
proposed.
Proposed. So coming out of that building, the restaurant, you would have to have a dedicated pipe for the grease trap.
Mhm.
And then the overflow would be gravity to the pump station.
So here is the proposed restaurant medical office building.
Yeah.
We have a line coming out here, which is general domestic sewage.
Yep.
There is another line coming out over here, which would come from the restaurant space.
Yeah.
And whatever fixtures internal to the restaurant that have to go to the grease trap would all be directed here. Here is the grease trap
Trap.
as proposed. That has an overflow that ties into a manhole, and then that would come down at the
And
gravity
go to the
line
pump station.
and go to the pump station, yes.
Okay, I think I see what you're doing here. One thing, Doug, there was a discussion here about 8-inch pipe versus 12-inch pipe. Are we on the same page about that?
My recommendation was to go with 12-inch, given the, as he alluded to, it's gonna help you extend that sewer further because at a larger size pipe pursuant to TR 16, you're allowed to extend, keep that slope a little bit shallower. That's one reason, and the other reason is because the pipe that they are proposing to connect into was a 12-inch as well. So kind of extend that existing 12-inch that's currently there.
But I understand the value of a smaller diameter pipe providing greater velocity.
Yeah, I think it's more gonna be the slope that dictates the velocity going through there, not the size of the pipe. I mean, if it was a force main, it would be the size of the pipe would certainly have some impacts on the velocity. But given this is a gravity application, the slope is, I think what he's alluding to is the big concern relative to, the velocity that you're gonna get through.
That's all I have.
Anybody else? Steve? Larry? Eugene?
So are we sticking with the recommendation from Doug on the pipe
I'm
size,
sorry?
or are we sticking with the recommendation that Doug and Fussin O'Neill had proposed for diameter of pipe?
I would say yes. Is that, am
Or the
I right or wrong?
Yeah, we would accept upsizing the pipe as Doug recommended to a 12-inch.
Yes,
We would
they
just ask that we
agree.
can shorten the length of it to what we recommended tonight.
You gotta address the shortening the length of Doug,
What?
the shortening of the length of Doug. Is he okay with that? Doug, are you okay with the shortening of the length?
I'll defer, to the WPCA. I think we're talking 80 feet in terms of the limits. And I think what's also important to note as part of this is that, they're acknowledging that any maintenance leading up to the proposed connection manhole that is currently there would be their responsibility and not that of the city of the Shelton until such time as David pointed to that, like maybe there's another another property or building that connects into the proposed extension portion.
How would that happen? I mean,
It
well,
would be an application to this commission.
to this commission or,
Well, planning and zoning first, and the only property at this point that would connect is the current Win Air property, which is also, as you know, been approved through planning and zoning. And as a project, I would assume,
so
Before you-
they're gonna connect into this pipe?
probably not. I think they're a little farther south of us with what they're planning.
Yeah, the
So
plan-
there would be really, because the condos across the street have already connected, we're tying in to where their public manhole is. So there's really no one else. We're the end of the line. As far as River Road goes.
As I understand from looking at the plans from the Win Air parcel, they have a low pressure force main running through their parcel to the medical office building that might be going in next door. I forget what the office building is, but either way, it's all internal to the site there where they're then able to tie in south.
Well,
So the odds of someone else
Yeah.
tying in are slim to none.
look, I think for me personally, there's a lot of loose ends here that I think have to be addressed. I need confirmation, complete confirmation, Bill, about capacity issues with Stratford. I need the numbers, the dead nuts numbers on just what this is. I believe you, but for our purposes here, this has to be validated. That's number one. Number two, I think we need a legal agreement that definitively states that maintenance would be the owners. Because that's not in our right of way. It's a state right of way. And I think it's an important agreement that has to be included in this approval. You know, you've been doing this since 2018, and I'm very concerned about capacity issues in all the catchment areas. And I need some more briefing on just what all of these areas are able to accept beyond what with new development here. And I heard the statements, read them again in the minutes about capacity issues. Now, my guess is if there's 120,000 capacity there, that this will be fine. But you've been at this since 2018. I don't think another month is going to make a difference, and I'm going to move that we table this for a month. And we have our town attorney involve him with your attorney, just put an agreement together, memorializing your maintenance agreement on that piece and the extension. And Bill, you're gonna have to call Stratford and find out just what capacity we have left.
Yep.
With Stratford, because it sounds to me like there's other development downstream coming on board also, and this is gonna be critical. Am I right?
Yeah.
or wrong?
He's,
No, I
he's
think
next door.
Yeah,
If I may address a couple of your items,
Sure.
I think you had mentioned earlier, you're a little new to the commission, and
Yeah.
obviously there's some things to learn.
Mhm.
Very simply, we put on the site plans as they're submitted, the comments that we will be maintaining the main from our property to the manhole in River Road. Very simple process. It does not take two lawyers to get together and do it. It's done all the time. on any, even your local residential deeds. With that being said, that's something that we would definitely agree to. It's something that we've already represented here. That's in the minutes and town too. And obviously, we would want to make sure we've got a lot of property there that needs to be maintained in that capacity. So very simple step to make a condition from your approval that the site plans reflect that the property owners will be maintaining the main from their property to the manhole on River Road. Secondly, this approval has been already been obtained from Stratford. You're going back and forth on what capacities are going to have no bearing on that. It may on future agreements that I know the city of Shelton and Stratford have gone back and forth on for the last 15 years that I've been involved with this project and others between the two communities. So there is no process for the applicants, and it can be very frustrating, to be all honest with all of you, because even through the planning and zoning process, planning and zoning is like, well, we can't approve your project until you have approval for source. We go to Stratford because that's what we're told. We actually, I'll take another step back. We had 3 different designs for sorting for this project. One was to go to Shelton, which went up River Road. 2 was a self-contained treatment plant, and 3 was to go to Stratford. When we proposed the self-contained treatment plant, both municipalities got a little upset because obviously they're not getting any of the revenue from the sort taxes and the fees that would be paid. They're all looking at those expenses. So that came off the table. The line to Shelton came off the table, even though they were looking at tying in some of the condos to the north and going to the pump station up by the diner on River Road. But the WPCA at that time, this was probably back in 2016, had thought that the capacity of Shelton should not be burdened with this because they already had an agreement with Stratford. So we were told, you go to Stratford, this is what you do.
Who told you that?
The WPCA at that time. And the mayor, to be honest with you. So that's where we go. We don't have any choice. We don't have any options. You know, this is where it's at. We've been back down to Stratford 4 different times at their meetings to bring them up to date and get their approvals. We've been back here to bring those letters of acceptance, and we're tabled down there just waiting here. We finally got through all of the zoning and the other agencies that needed to review it before we can get the project approved. We're at that step. We've been through all of that. Another month, we've been waiting to get this approval since August. So it's been 6 months that we've been trying to get here. It shouldn't take that long for a professional sign off on an engineered system that's really been approved all the way through the municipality that's going to be accepting it. And it's a matter of just the approval here that you've reviewed our design and are accepting of it. And even though we are maintaining, building, constructing, and taking care of the entire system, there's no burden on the city of Shelton. As far as what we're doing, we're here because we're respecting your position, and obviously you have that oversight. And we'd like to move this forward. I mean, we'd like to close the year out on a good note and not push this out into 2025 for things that are immaterial to what we've already accomplished. So I would ask that the commission look favorably upon what we presented. We'll make the adjustments that Fuss and O'Neill has recommended. We understand the grease trap. We've already been to Stratford. Whether or not we go 80 feet north or 80 feet south with wherever the force main ties in, that's fine. The 12-inch pipe to 8-inch, I mean, that's a little bit of an engineering back and forth. That's easy enough to straighten out. And, you know, we'll do whatever is going to be the most efficient because we've got to maintain it. We're not looking to cut a corner. And I think that's what my engineer is representing. And I think the folks from Fuss and Neal are saying the same. We could minimize this at, you know, what the regulations said. We're not trying to minimize. We're actually trying to maybe increase it a little bit to a safer flow to make sure we don't have maintenance problems. And I guess it's a matter of opinion a little bit, professional opinion. And I think they're both, you know, very well-versed in what they're doing. And either way we slide that manhole 80 feet up north or south makes really no bearing on anyone here. It's in the right of way for the state. So with that being said, I'd really look for your approval this evening for us to move forward, to go to Stratford. We're not going to be changing our project or anything else down there. The agreement that exists between Shelton and Stratford, it has since 1983. 1983. So it's been in place for a lot of years. But what I understand, there's nothing on the table right now to change anything with that agreement. So there's nothing I'm gonna do as an applicant, nothing I can change as far as what the flows are or what the capacities are in Stratford. There is that agreement and it's there.
I'm speaking for myself
Yes, sir.
and I'm new to this commission. And this is the fourth WPCA commission that I've sat on. I've sat on WPCA commissions for the last 4 decades. And I know that the devil goes in the details. I've been through wars on these things. So I like to have things the way I like them now. I'm gonna make a motion, and if the board wants to agree with me, they can, and if they don't, that's fine too. But I think that we should have a legal review of the stipulation on the plan that indicate that in a state right of way, the owner is going to be responsible for the maintenance, in spite of the fact that we're the WPCA and really the stewards of that system. And the second thing is, I'm still concerned about capacity issues, because my research into what we have here in Shelton is that there's some areas that have great capacity, and there's some that have a little more challenging capacity. But in this instance, this is the capacity that we have allotted to our commission from another town, another community. And so I would say I need at least those two answers: legal review and acceptance, because this is an amalgamation of issues, a different town, a state highway, and these other issues. So I'm gonna move that we table this until the next meeting.
Can I ask you to potentially compromise your motion in the sense of allowing us to move forward to go to Stratford to get their approval, which would thereby alleviate your concerns that we have with Stratford? And at the same time, we would submit our language that would be included on a site plan to the town attorney just for approval in the wording, so that we can come back to you at the next meeting with those documents and approvals in hand.
Okay, look. Stratford, would this go to their WPCA in Stratford?
Yes, sir.
So, I'm gonna say no, because I don't think Stratford should be, approving something that we're not comfortable with. If you went to them and you approved it, you would come back and give us another, letter saying, yeah, that we approved this. I'm not gonna box in this commission as approving that. So I'm making the motion. I mean, if someone wants to second it, or if someone wants to make a comment or argue against me or on behalf of this applicant, it's fine with me.
I'd like to hold off just for a couple of minutes, John, because this is absolutely incredible to me, because for the last and your presentation, I'm very impressed with it. I think you've done a great job. But for the last few days, or when we had bringing this up, I said to Bill and Peter, the people I work with, I said, we don't have any answers on these things, and I think we need more. There's more questions than answers that we have to have done, and I don't want to hold up this project, but we don't know anything about it. And I said, and I went over the same. I don't want to repeat it, but it was like John wasn't there or Larry wasn't there, but whatever John said tonight, we've been thinking about. This is hard to believe, and and I've written it all down. So, and it's nothing. It's not about the technical part, which is the size of the pipe, et cetera. It's about the questions we have with our attorneys. We have a lot of problems with our attorney. We don't get to meet with them like we should. I'm going to make it a point that he's going to do it or not, because the people are like yourself trying to do your job. So we haven't done that, and John brought that up, and we haven't done other things. We don't know what they ask. I've been in court in the last couple of years because of our capacity and our sewer sheds and all those things we don't have an answer to. And so to move forward and accept anybody's application, even from we've changed that, I think, is that we're not just taking our consultant recommendation and voting on it, which we used to do. We don't do that now because we've had problems with other situations, not because of our consultant, but because of concerns that we didn't address. So I'm really thankful to John, Mr. Marsili for bringing this up, because we were thinking about it, and I was kind of saying, geez, it's really not fair to this development, to this River Road, the Great River project, but we don't have this. We have a lot of answers that we need that we don't have, and I can't myself bring myself to approve something that I don't know about. You know a lot more than we do about the Stratford WP. We haven't got an answer. I asked for the last 2 years, what's going on? How much, not so much with your project, but with another project, how much is going from Pine Rock to Stratford? What's the totals? What's the flow and all this stuff? No answers. Bill's new, so he didn't have the answers when he came on. He's been on a year now, but we don't have the answers. And it's really frustrating for me and embarrassing for me. Luckily, I have these gentlemen that have the background that I can refer to, and the interest on the other commissioners that they're young and they want to get involved and make this thing work. We all want to make it work. I agree 100% with John, though, this evening. Again, nothing against the Great River Club application, but we do have to have these answers. And
That's where I'm confused.
Go ahead.
What answers are you looking for? We've got approval from Stratford. We have approval,
But
we're done there. We're approved.
I understand.
Nothing's gonna change. So you're gonna wind up back in court again if you deny us, because that's where we've been told to go. And we have our approvals there.
I
And
don't.
that's not what we want to do. We have our approvals. There's nothing more we can do.
I'm not. I don't disagree with you. You know, you're a lot more involved in it than I am, and I believe you 100%. But I just don't have. I don't have the answer. We actually. When's the last time Stratford gave us an answer? Never. So we're taking, again. I'm not knocking you. I forgot your name. I'm not knocking you. I believe you 100%. But I don't know that Stratford. I don't know if Stratford's going to go along with this. Or they're going to charge. They just double charge us on Pine Rock Park with 300 customers. I don't understand that. So I'm a little leery because I don't know that much about it. I have to revert to my experienced commissioners, and as a result, I didn't get them involved last week because I was trying to iron things out with the office staff, with the grease trap and with the sewer sheds and stuff with Bill. So that was my fault, but I do want to do that, and I want to do it with people that can give me answers. And I will get the attorney here. I don't know if I have to go to his house or whatever, but that has been a problem with us. And I don't know if I should apologize for that, but I do want to do that. And I just feel so much better that everything that I was going to talk about tonight, Mr. Commissioner Marsilio brought up before I did, and he didn't know what we were going to do. So I think there's a lot more to it than just a denial or approval. And I just hope you'll bear with us for another month. And if he makes that motion and we approve it or disapprove it.
The motion's on the table.
Okay.
What would you expect from me in the next month?
We need more from the town of Stratford
Town of Stratford.
and our legal counsel. And then,
That's what I got.
God bless you, good luck, congratulations. That's all we're saying. Because you say it's 180,000 out of 300. I want to hear them say it.
I don't know what it is anymore to this day.
Well,
I haven't looked at it in a couple of years. That's not my concern. My
It's
concern
our
is I'm already approved.
That's our concern.
Well,
Did they give you,
again,
did Stratford
even
provide?
if it's at the max, I'm still approved.
How about if
I'm
it's over
going
the
to
max?
Stratford. There's nothing else that can happen. I've already gone through all the different exercises. I've been doing this for 6 years, been back and forth between the two cities and towns to try and get it all through, met with their sewer plant managers, done all this stuff. We've been there, we've done it. So to stop it now, or even say, well, listen, the capacity's down lower because they put somebody else on, or Pine Rock did something different, it's not going to affect this project because we already have our approvals. If it does, then to your point, Mr. Chairman, you'll wind up back in court because you can't stop it. It's already approved. So whatever the flows are from Stratford, whatever the old agreement from 1983 is from the city of Shelton, that's not going to change between now and the next meeting. It's really not going to change. You don't have the power to do that in that short of time, nor does anybody have the decision making because the approval's already been documented. I already have them from the municipality.
Did I understand you had correspondence with Stratford, written correspondence? Bill, did we receive copies of that correspondence? To our knowledge, I'm the assistant, Bill. Mr. Chairman, did you get a copy?
No,
Okay, why didn't they include us in the copy? So we could have passed it on to Commissioners Marsilio and Pace.
it's,
I mean, you know,
it's like we don't even exist with the correspondence from Stratford. We got
that's what
nothing.
I'm saying. So
Um,
that would have been
I
helpful.
don't know because we were not required or invited to go with anything with the WPCA during the planning and zoning and other processes that we went through in the community. Here, I believe duly noticed meeting the WPCA voted to approve your client's request to connect to the Stratford sewer system contingent on it receiving zoning approval from the Shelton Town Planning and Zoning Commission, and so also entering into written sewer connection agreement. This was dated November 14th, 2018. This is from Cohn and Wolf, the attorneys. I can't follow what one municipality sends to another municipality. That's not really my responsibility in things. But we've been there, done that, and have been working on this to make sure every I was dotted, T's were crossed, and the approvals were obtained properly and fully transparent with both municipalities. Now, at the time, I believe Mike DeAngelis was the chairman. Yes,
And I know that Mike was well aware of what was going on and that he had actually, I believe, had a conversation with Mr. Wpca, who was the chairman in Stratford. Now, I don't have a recording of that. I don't have minutes of that conversation, but I do believe that there was some correspondence, or I should say, communication between the two of them. They had, at the time, I believe it was Mr. DeAngelis that was actually looking to potentially run the main up River Road. They had done some testing. I don't know if you were aware, Bill, maybe you were at
No.
the time. This was back in 2015, 16. They had actually run test holes along River Road and had determined where the ledge was and where we go. They had pipes designed and they were looking for us to help with the economics, if you will, of that pipeline. But then I believe it was the mayor who had determined that the storage treatment plant in Shelton was not going to take the capacity here because the capacity from this section down was going to Stratford and the story. And that's what we've been told. Now, that's all been well documented over the years. I'm sorry that on my behalf, it's taken so long to get approval of those things. But between the environmental situation in the brownfield site and the pandemic and everything else in between there, the application has drawn out somehow. But I don't know what more I can do on my behalf because I'm there. I'm not going to be able to change any agreement, any capacity numbers, whatever's going on with you and Stratford, you being the city of Shelton. That's really way beyond what the scope is of this application. I've done everything that I've been supposed to. I wouldn't have gone on this far and gone through what we've done to get all these approvals if we didn't have the ability to move our effluent to a proper treatment facility. So I'm at that stage of the game here. I've done hopefully my responsibilities, and then adding the fact that all of this is being constructed by us and maintained by us onto the site plan is a very simple clause that's included in a number of site plans, just like an easement or anything else that we put on during the design and final application phase. So I mean, you know, we're all going home for Christmas holidays, not a lot's gonna happen.
Let
me
Over
ask you a
Christmas, I don't wanna do it. Yes, sir.
Yes, looking at this. And of course, it's dated November of 2018. So you're saying this is evergreen? Once this is 2018, they approved this approval lasts forever.
We went back to them and I gave you another letter that was dated in 2023. That was the update letter from Very Knott to this commission where they tabled the item.
May 23rd.
Correct. So it's not necessarily an evergreen, but you have to be able to base your development plans on these types of approvals. And I think you all can understand how long it takes just to get through the planning and zoning process. You know, we were 18, probably 20, almost 22 months just getting through the preliminary planning and zoning process. We have to go back to the DEP, then we come back to planning and zoning, then it's a state road. So we're dealing with the CONDOT and everything with the state. We faced every municipal agency there was in getting to this point. On top of that, we took over the auto switch site, which, as we know, has all been an eyesore in the town for a while, which was a brownfield site. It's taken us the last 4 years just to get through all the environmental rigmarole that we had to deal with.
In all due respect to you,
Yes, sir.
I want you to understand, I think most of us here, favorable to most of these things. However, because of certain things that have transpired over the last several months, we are more aware of dotting our i's and crossing our t's. And I think that's a lot that's going on here tonight. Okay. And with all due respect to everything you have done, please have the respect for us, want to do proper job for town as well as for you. So, we're a little guarded because of certain things that occur.
I appreciate that. And I think that's why we've tried to bring you a complete package and make sure we had everything in order to come to you. Barring the, couple of comments from your consultant, which were more on a technical side than anything else. I think those were easily
Exactly, I
addressed.
agree.
So I was, in the point of, we had dotted our i's and crossed our t's, hopefully for you in our presentation, and hopefully you can understand that. As I said, obviously, we're not gonna be putting any shovels in the ground in the next couple of weeks, given the holidays and everything else is going on. Our commission feels in some way that we can help benefit you further with some other additional. I don't know what I can get out of Stratford for you. As an applicant, I really don't have any authority to, other than doing some personal legwork. I do have a copy of the old 1980-ish agreement somewhere in my file. And I'm sure, Bill, you must have somewhere that you folks can kind of blow the dust off and take a look at. In the end game, I think we're all on the same page. We want to do right.
I agree, absolutely. Thank you. I know. I know.
Motion. Condition.
Discussion, any more discussion?
I have one last question, Eugene here. A little more technicality question based on the restaurant with the grease trap. I saw Fuss and O'Neill put a recommendation in for, I know they did a kind of a broad strokes calculation based off the 225 seats. That's 7.5 hours of operation. What, when you're getting a building permit out of this, is there going to be a separate building permit for the fit out of the restaurant that would require you to come back to WPCA with an exact seat chart and, and the hours of operate, this calculation was oddly specific on number of seats and on the condition that it's only open for 7.5 hours a day for lunch and dinner, which seems a little short in my opinion. Most restaurants, if it's opening at lunch, it's opening at noon or 11 and open till 9 or 10 at night. That's a 10-hour day right there at least. Is there some type of stipulation that will bring the developer or the tenant of that restaurant back to the WPCA for a sign off on the building permit? Like, is that restaurant fit out going to be a separate building permit, or are you going to fit it out under this application once you go get your building permit after this.
There
What I'm
will
getting
be-
at is how do we bring them back in here to make sure that these numbers actually work for what restaurant's going in there?
A set of building documents will need to be submitted to the city for approval.
Okay,
And at that point, the grease trap sizing will there be depicted on the building plans. Typically, it's an administrative sign off. My experience in the past with grease traps. It's not something that necessarily goes back to the WPCA. The WPCA requires a grease trap and then it becomes part of the building code. And obviously where it's located and how it's been designed, you've already seen that design. We've put in a maximum size grease trap for the entire space. I believe the calculations are based on the hours and capacities and flows. So there's averages and things that come into play. So it's not the exact, to the minute of what's happening in the facility, because there's obviously downtimes and yes, you're busy at lunch and you're busy at dinner, but you're not doing anything potentially all afternoon. So that's why those times come into play and how they use those factors. But to answer your basic question, yes, there'll be a full set of building drawings that will come into the city for approval.
okay, thank you.
I know. Commissioner Marsali, could you repeat your motion, please?
And the conditions you were looking for, just so it's on record.
I move that we table this application. Pending the verification of capacities available to the town of Shelton. And those capacities that are, that have been approved by the town of Stratford and what that delta is. And I would ask that the town attorney review this application and the plans to ensure that the language in those on those plans absolves the town of Shelton from any future maintenance for any portion of this installation. That's all I have to say.
Could you read that back to us, sir?
Yeah, it's on tape. Sarah, can you read that out?
Oh, I didn't know she didn't take it. That's it's on tape, okay.
It's on tape.
Okay, we have a motion to table the application based on the several questions that we had about capacity. And we also looking for our city attorney to give us a legal opinion as to what we should do. And those are the things that we brought up this week that I talked about before. So with that in mind, do we have a second for the motion
Second.
by Commissioner Pace? Any discussion? We've already had quite a bit of discussion. I appreciate that. Okay, no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye,
Opposed? Unanimous decision. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. just so
Absolutely.
I understand, would you, like my group to prepare the language that would go on the site plan for the maintenance of the main and submit it for approval? Is that what you're asking for? On the maintenance, you had two clauses. One was Stratford, which I'm not sure
Yeah.
what I could do. That's gonna be, I guess, internal work.
Bill
Correct, Bill. Yeah.
or John? John?
Do you have language on the plan right now that stipulates the maintenance?
I don't think it's on this plan, but it would be on the final site plan when it
And I
comes in.
think I would recommend you do that, so we can just get an approval of that, and see in 30 days, you can be happy, and we can be happy.
All right, so I'll get that drafted and submit it to the town attorney, or would I go through you? Or Bill?
You go to Bill.
I think it should go through our administrator and he'll give it to our attorney.
Thank you. And if there's something we can do to help with Stratford, I just don't know if there was any direction from this commission to us for us to do anything there.
I appreciate that. Thank
If there
you.
is, I'll wait for some direction from Bill.
Okay,
But thank you all for your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
moving on, the agenda 7, the financial statement. Is there anything on the financial statement, Bill? Nothing. And move on to item number 8 on the agenda for adjournment. We need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Pace.
Second.
Mr. Chuck. Thank you very, very much. And Merry Christmas.